Hi, I'm Becky.
And I'm Lindsay, and we're here talking all about motivation today. What is your motivation? Why is it important? As you can see, without any advertising, we're sat here drinking a hot drink.
That's my motivation today. So my motivation. I'm full of cold. I've got no energy. We've pressed submit on a big bid, and you get that anti-climax down and drop. So motivation-wise,
Yeah, we've kind of gone on that slump, which probably is quite a good way to kind of talk about motivation, because it's okay to slump as well, isn't it?
Do you know, you have to. You
can't
keep
keep
up
going
there.
all the
It's
time.
not possible. It's not sustainable.
No. But yeah, it was interesting. We've had lots of very interesting conversations over the past week or so with different opportunities coming up, and we were so lucky on Friday night to win an award as well. And actually, for us to win this award, it meant more than the others, because it meant people understand what we're trying to do, which comes back to what our motivation is and what people get why now, and they get the impact, and they're understanding why we're motivated to do this change.
Let's explain what award we got.
Yes,
because we're talking about this.
Sorry.
People don't know. Or they may do. But yes, so we won Health and Wellbeing Business of the Year. Now, people go, well, what's the arts got to do with health and wellbeing? You talk to anyone within the creative arts, and they will tell you the impact it has on mental health, physical health, general well-being, the endorphins, the hormones, the chemicals, the neuroprocessing, the being able to get up, the movement, everything that can be done, and to have that formally recognised by a group of judges who include people like the Chamber of Commerce, the council, both councils in Northamptonshire of the things. That is huge, especially when the councillors they represent regeneration and economic growth, but they saw us for what we do,
not for what we've had to fight against, which is so empowering. So I think when we started our journey, it was all about, what is our motivation? Well, our motivation was to go, the arts is so much more than jazz hands and singing and dancing and shows. The arts has this unique power to help people's health, well-being, give them skills for life, and problem solve, become resilient.
And a big part of that was making it accessible. So we wanted to bring the arts to the high street, which is what we've done. We've got this studio in the heart of Kettering, right, like bus stops are 2 minutes walk away if that.
Max,
train station is like a 5-10 minute walk. We're in the heart of town. So yes, that was our big motivation. And we wanted to bring it. We expanded it from voice. We brought in all the arts, the other creative arts. We brought in the dance. We brought in the music. We brought in the drama. We brought in the art. We brought all that. So that 2.5 years ago was where we were at. But motivations change.
Motivations change massively, and that's okay.
Very much,
and
they need to.
They need to, as people evolve, and as your business evolves, or society evolves, or funding streams evolve. Everything, your motivation can change, because if
it has to be something you're passionate about. Motivation can't happen without that. But alongside that passion and excitement, and for us that creativity. It's not going to be there for everyone, our creativity, because not everyone's like us. I think the world would be a very scary place. But alongside that, you have to have what you are good at. And we are good at what we do. The way that we're going to put on, we don't big ourselves up normally, but we are good at what we do. And you will know what you're good at. You may not want to shout out about it, but you will know that. So that's another part of your motivation. And then the final part of your motivation, it's going to be what brings in the money, because at the end of the day, money makes the world go round. So is it something that you're passionate about? Is it something that you're good at? And can you make money from it?
Yes, you've got a viable business. Can you work in partnership with other people that have got the same motivation as you, but you're not doing the same thing? Like on Friday night, we met, people talk a lot about the power of sports for mental health and wellbeing, and I know Prince William and Princess Catherine have just announced like a relaunch of their Heads Together campaign, which very much talks about the power of sport for mental health. That's fine, but not everybody's into sport, and sport's quite a scary thing. I totally agree. It's done wonders for my son, absolutely brilliant. If I threw my daughter into it, it just wouldn't work for her. Again, there's lots of things about the pressure of getting girls involved in sport, but again, you've got to find the right way and the right hook in. But we were there on Friday night with the Northampton Saints Foundation, and they were like, oh, it's so refreshing to talk to you, because what you do is exactly the same as us. But from the outside, people wouldn't consider us as the same, because they were saying like the rugby is it's the hook. It's the least important thing of what they actually do. Yeah. And for us, the arts is the hook, and the motivation has become, because we've seen the impact of our work now, is where we're changing our focus a little bit, and some of it to grow the business, because that really is where we're excelling and where we're having an impact on people and individuals and communities. So to find other like-minded organisations that share the same motivation as you, but together you can pull this amazing group of resources and make a greater impact, that's really important as well, because then you're not on your own fighting your own corner. You don't feel like you're standing alone, you feel like you're part of this network and this team.
That's good. It's very, very good, because whatever you do, you can have the motivation for it, but that motivation is not sustainable if you don't have a team around you. Now, it could be a team as in a team of like-minded people who you work with in a business. Yeah. It could be that you're partnering up with other organisations. It could be that you've got motivation and teams from different people around the UK or the world who are friends, who have the same ethos, the same values, the same motivation as you, but in a slightly different fix. But you've got people you can bounce off.
Oh, it's so important.
But without those support groups, without that passion, without that fire, without that belief, then the motivation isn't going to be there.
And it's draining. It's really hard. We've had a conversation about this week. Some of the work that you had a group of adults you were working with on Monday, and you came up buzzing from it, didn't you? Because you've got to share that joy with them, and you were bouncing off each other.
But 2 weeks ago, I came up with it completely.
But 2 weeks ago, you came up completely drained because of something else. And some of the work I've been doing is very much on my own with quite vulnerable children. That it's hard and it's intense, and you've got nobody else to bounce ideas off. But both of us have had that conversation with each other, because we're missing the opportunity to work together and bounce ideas off each other at the minute, because we're both so busy in our revenue streams of what we've got coming in. And then a project landed on our door yesterday, and as much as it's huge, and we were like, both of us went, oh, we get to work together. Yay! And we were like, yes. And do you know what? From the start of the business, our motivation was like, let's get to this point, and then we can do these big projects together. And it's like, we've got there.
But
that's great.
We can bounce our creativity off each other, and that was a driving factor of us coming together. And that was a motivation. And we've had to go and steer off in other directions, just because it's the nature of business and growing. But to have that refire, that rekindling of that motivation, that passion coming through for what we want to do is our passion and joy.
Yeah. And it's about allowing yourself time in your journey to rekindle your motivation and just kind of reflect on, is it still the same, has it changed? So we're looking at our branding at the minute, and both of us, I'd been thinking it loads, and Becky had been thinking it loads, and we just had a very flippant conversation the other day. We were like, yeah, we both think the same, and we need new photos, we need to rebrand for where we're going to. Not changing who we are, because BHVA will always be the same, but the different markets that we're operating in now, the brand's got to reflect that, and reflect the fact that actually, we've said it from the start that we are coaches, that we help to transform lives through the arts. But we've always, for me, when we incorporated as voice and arts, it's the voice and then the wider arts. And actually, no, it's about people finding their voice. And actually, it's not about voices in the physical voice anymore. This is about people, the individual, helping them find their motivation, helping them find their voice, find who they are, so they can stand up and either talk to a room of people, or they can sit in a board meeting and put a point across, or they can pick up a phone, or they can express how they're feeling, rather than going into a whole dysregulation, meltdown, kicking off and breaking things. They can self-regulate themselves because they're able to process information better. They can take care of themselves because they know what's good for them, and they are strong enough to make positive choices for themselves and then the next steps moving forwards. And yes, it's through the arts and through creativity that we teach those skills. But yeah, it's making sure that our branding now, that it was always the motivation there behind doing it differently for us. But it's become so clear, and I think winning this Health and Wellbeing Award is just the fact that other people get it now, other people get what we're doing, they see the impact. We've got to keep the momentum going and the drive for other people to keep working so we can keep making a change bit by bit.
And the other part of your motivation, which we haven't talked about, is your why. And actually both of us came into this, and a big part of our why is our backgrounds and what's happened to us in the past, and the fact that both of us have been on journeys where we've been able to find our voice and rediscover who we are, and to be able to pay that forwards and to see it happening and then be recognised for what we're doing on that motivation is huge.
Oh, massive. And I think we both suffer from massive imposter syndrome in lots of different situations. Some that you will go, oh, no. And I had a conversation with somebody at the weekend where they were talking about, yeah, but you know, we just perceive you as such strong, confident individuals. And I'm there going, you have no idea. Like, we are two of probably the most insecure people for very different reasons, but our insecurities lie in very different places. And we have massive imposter syndrome all the time. But what keeps us going is our motivation to show others, and that's why we're good at what we do, because we get it, because we've lived that journey ourselves. So our motivation is to help others, because we've had people around us that have helped us. Sometimes they have, sometimes they haven't. But we've develop those skills for ourselves, and so it's that why, and why are we doing what we do.
But my next question is, so that's fine when you're working just like a couple of you or on your own. What happens when you've got a team? How do you instill that motivation into the team? How do you inspire and create their motivation?
It's a question people keep saying to us, because they keep going, BHVA is so much you two, and we're like, no, we've got an awesome team around us
and
we're building the team, and actually that's something that's really important to us at the moment, about how do we instill our why and our motivation and get them to understand. And
sometimes it's not about the skill set. That I'm going to put that's controversial, because people go, but you've got to have this and this and this ability and this ability. No, not always.
So many things can be learned. Knowledge can be learned, techniques can be learned, structures can be learned, processes can be learned. But within the world we work in, being able to make a connection with a person, we've talked about this before in a previous podcast, having that ability to connect with somebody.
But then that expands to any other business. You're employing people. Why are you employing them? For your skill set. I don't like using the word why, because it's very accusatory. But what is stopping you from employing them? Because of their values align with yours, and their motivation to do things aligns with yours. The skills can be learnt. You cannot instill values and motivation into an employee if they don't have them there at all, which means you're going to be at discord right from the word go.
100%, because it doesn't matter how good they are at that particular job or role, if the reason why they're doing it doesn't align with what your reason is for a business and your motivation and your why and your values,
they're going to get no joy from it.
They're going to get no joy. The message is going to get mixed up. You're going to get frustrated because the outcomes don't really meet what you plan for them to do.
And you're going to have a very dissatisfied employee, and it's not going to be fixable. You can do all the team building in the world, you can do all the explaining, you can do all the engaging, you can keep them very much on board with everything you're doing. But if that motivation and those values do not align, they're going to walk, and it's going to be a ton of waste of money. So it's not just about identifying your motivation, it's about identifying as you get bigger as a company what your company's motivation is, and then ensuring that the people you bring on board have the same motivation, the same passion, the same fire. They can deviate slightly.
100%.
But it doesn't have to necessarily be on skill sets. I'm just putting that out there.
I think it's so important, because it's those core values, those core beliefs are what you can keep coming back to at checkpoints, at training sessions, when you help them. When we get overwhelmed, we strip it all back. Lots of people do this, strip it all back to what's the motivation, what is it you want to achieve, what's the why. And if when you strip everything else back and all the noise of life and pressures in society, your common ground of your motivation and your why is still the same, you're going to be able to rebuild and grow again, or diverse into a different avenue as well. So knowing your why, knowing your motivation, and having people around you that are on board with your motivation and your why, both within your immediate work, family circles, friends, or wider wider connectivity and networking is so important.
And then keeping that motivation comes down to communication.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot stress that enough.
And time.
Yes.
Taking time out to refresh and recharge, to then have the energy to keep going. Because when you are so motivated and so passionate about something, it's exhausting, because you're putting 110% in all the time, and you're fighting your corner, and you're fighting for the bigger objectives of what you're trying to achieve.
And why do we know this? Because in the performance world, you cannot do, say like a West End production, you cannot do 8 shows a week at 100%.
No.
You will crash, you will burn. You have to hold something back. If you can still get the audience moved at 80%, which means you can survive that and keep going, that's what you do. And that has to be transferred over into the business world and into your personal world. 100% is not sustainable. What is? Find out where that point is, and it will be different levels for everybody.
And own it. Own what you can do. We sometimes go, this isn't working for me, I can't do that anymore, I need this. And that's fine. But it's about communicating that rather than sinking in as well. So going back to the communication point, but yeah, taking time out. We're having a week off, week after next, because we both need a week off. That's it. So yeah, take time to reflect, recharge your batteries, to remember why you're doing it, and sometimes go, is that actually helping my cause and what I'm trying to do? And if you've been putting it off for weeks and weeks and weeks and you haven't done it, it's not really having an impact on your business, then you might not need to do it anyway. Because it's...
So if you want to find your motivation, I'm just going to quick sum up.
Yeah, love it.
If you want to find your motivation, you need to find out what you're passionate about. You need to find what you're good at, even if you don't want to brag it to the world. And you need to find something that's going to bring a bit of money in, because you don't have to make lots and lots of money. For some people, that is their motivation. But not for everyone. It might be having an impact on something else, but that money has to come in, because the motivation will suck without that money. So that's how you find it. In order to sustain it, you've got to make sure you're not working at 100%. You've got to make sure you've got other people around you who you can bounce and be with and bounce ideas off, talk to keep that there. You're allowed slump days. Just putting it out there does not need to be kept at the same level. It's going to walk all over the place.
Yeah.
And then finally, if you're growing your team, you need to bring people on who you can inspire with the same motivation, which ultimately means their values and their joy needs to be along similar lines. Not the same, doesn't work in this world.
Yeah.
But along similar lines. They cannot be a huge discourse and a huge rift between what they value and believe in and what you value and believe in. You won't sustain their motivation.
Yeah. Food for thought.
Definitely.
Good one. We're going to go get some more motivation through caffeine-induced drinks, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Thanks.